Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Daddy eats lots. Munch, munch, munch.
Hello and welcome to Daddy Eats Last, where we discuss the challenges of being a man in modern society. And God, there are a lot at the moment. And what the hell that phrase even means. I'm Kane, and joining me this evening, Maddie and Ryan. Firstly, gents, how was your lockdown weekend, or quarantine weekend, or self-isolating weekend, or social distancing weekend?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good. We, different times indeed, isn't it? So this is, I guess, probably the last weekend where we can get out and about a little bit more than what we can now. So I took the opportunity this morning and ducked out for a bike ride just by myself along the local bike path there. And my God, there are a lot of people out and about, more than I've probably seen in quite some time, which they were practicing their social distancing, so they were keeping their distance between each other. But there was lots of families out there and individuals, and it kind of made me think, well, maybe this is one of the better things to come out of coronavirus, is everybody getting out and about and spending more time with their families. But we had a bit of a family day around the house as well. We all exercise, which is great. Washed the car as a family. I did some work out in the front yard. Just a lot of family stuff, which is going to be the norm for a long time.
Two things: BMX and a stack cat, or you got a mountain bike?
No, I've got. I think they called it a hybrid. So I just did a leisurely 20 this morning. I've been training for a triathlon, and was doing quite well in the training prep, but we believe it's going to be cancelled like most things. So. We'll keep the training going, but yeah.
Now, how did the kids go not going to their local amusement park by having their car washed in the car wash machine? Are they okay with
that? Oh, yeah, from a previous episode. They're okay, yeah. I mean, I said to Kim, you're going to have to watch this again because no kids can wash cars well. And in fact, me is like, let's throw the bucket of dirty water over the car to the end. I don't think that's how it works, but... So their skill set will improve by learning how to wash a car.
Wax on, wax off. Hey, you're right. How's London town in proper lockdown?
Well, I was going to say it's great that you guys have a quarantine weekend. I'm into week 2 of ours, which is good. Getting a lot of social distance running in, and then really just trying to get plans to not go stir crazy, but started taking back up Spanish, which is good, and then learning a few things.
Yeah, that was actually what we're going to discuss tonight, is using self-quarantine and maybe having more time if you're working from home, and I guess being inside houses more, that basically everywhere around the world is now being locked down in some format. If there's any skills that you're looking to, I guess, learn during this shutdown period, which it sounds like it could be the next sort of 6 months, and it wouldn't surprise me if it was that long. But is there any skills out there that you guys are looking to learn? And what brought this up today is I've seen a lot more people sort of, by me, I see my better half on social media. I've seen a lot of people baking during quarantine, and Maddie's seen people exercising, and Ryan, you're taking up Spanish. Is anything which is burning a burning desire for you to kind of learn while you're in quarantine?
Yeah, well, I'm hoping to actually get half decent at Spanish by the end of this. So hopefully that's kind of a focus outside of work. I've written down a number of books that I want to read, and very boringly, I'm actually doing an Excel course through work during this time as well. So learning the wonderful skills of Microsoft Excel, which I've avoided for years and years. So good as time as any to bite the bullet.
It will stand you in good stead for the rest of your working career if you're in any sort of financial position. Excel is it's actually a really good program. But good luck with that. Now, you learned Spanish before and you're getting back in the swing of things. Is it paella or is it paella? How's it pronounced?
Paella.
Paella?
I believe, yes.
Excellent.
And delicious. My pronunciation is not my strong point.
this is. I've always curious because the Americans pronounce it paella, or I don't know. I just doesn't sound right. It's read as paella.
No, it's definitely not paella. It's paella. But the tricky thing about Spanish is you've got the South American version of it, and then you've got the European version, and they are slightly different in terms of pronunciation.
I'd have to suggest that, given that Spain is in Europe, that the European version would probably be correct.
Yes. Yes, it's the more authentic version.
What about you? What about you, Matt? You got anything which you're looking to improve on or learn while we're in lockdown?
Yeah, probably the baking for me, mate. I've started making some muffins a couple of times this week for the family, but I'd like to expand on my culinary diversity, because it's never been quite as extensive as it could be. But now this is a great time. We all need to eat. So,
baking and cooking as well.
Yeah, look, I say that, but whether it happens or not will be a different story. I think at the moment it's just trying to get a bit of a routine happening. I know it's hard to do that in these kind of things because everything's changing all the time at the moment. But I think once the routine's in play and, when you have a bit of time to, sit down and have a crack at a new skill, that'll be a lot better for me. But at the moment, I'm just sort of looking at projects I've got around the place and picking up a few of those. So, and one of those being video editing. So I've done a few videos in the past, but I've got one of my grandma who sort of grew up in the World War II era, and I took down her or videotaped her sort of life story, and I've just had it sitting there for the last 3 or 4 years. And she's turning 90 this year, so I thought maybe that'd be a good chance to jump on and play around with that. So, which is something I enjoy doing.
That's awesome. That's a 90th, and when is her birthday? When does she turn 90?
Yeah, it was August, so there was a big party planned at a big outdoor gathering, but I don't know. I don't think it's going to go ahead, but I guess we'll just wait and see. But
under quarantine,
postponed.
You're under self-isolation at the moment. Two people could go, so she could go with one other person.
Yeah, and everyone else can just stay in their car and just rotate 5 minutes each.
There you go. That's it's an ingenious way of overcoming.
Yeah.
But baking seems to be a popular one because we do this work from home catch up with our team 11:45 to 12:15 every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Although Fridays turn into 4:30 because somebody was having their virtual leaving drinks. But yeah, apparently on Monday we have to we theme every single one of them. So we had dress up for work. So you actually had to get out of your pajamas, and I put on a suit and tie, and we had charades with emojis as one of the other ones, tell a joke. But Mondays is a work from home bake off, to which I am definitely going to be sitting on the sidelines for that one, but everyone's getting into the baking.
Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned to the little fella today about baking. Oh, we'll bake a chocolate cake later on. I mentioned it at 8 o'clock this morning or something. And then it gets to 3 o'clock. He goes, when are we going to bake that chocolate cake, Daddy? I'm like, oh, really? You remember that? So then I was forced to, because we're under, obviously we can only now, as of this evening, can only really go out and shop for essentials. And we've got various things in the house, but we wouldn't have what I'd call a full sort of house of everything we would need. I'm like, okay, we're just going to magically make a chocolate cake out of nothing. But we had some old self-raising flour, and we had some eggs, and we had some cocoa, and we had some sugar, and we had some oil. So we just kind of mixed that together, and they turned out surprisingly good. But yeah, he doesn't forget anything, my little fella. He's something which was mentioned much earlier than that. I thought he'd forgotten. It was just brought up randomly at 3 o'clock, and then I was just like, oh man.
Gotta commit to it, I guess.
And he hoovered about it because I made them into little cupcake versions or little muffin versions, and he hoovered 3 of them up really quickly. So he was pretty stoked with his efforts.
I think the question for you guys, one of the challenges that we're facing is, it's still very vague at the moment. It could be a couple of weeks and we all get to go back to work. It could be 1 month on, 1 month off. But if this thing played out for at least 3 to 6 months, because I kind of think, you think of what skills you want to learn and you pick a couple of easy ones. But if you actually had 3 to 6 months of this, would that change your thinking on a skill that you would be like, you know what, if I've got 6 months, I would do this course, or I would look at doing this, or I don't know. But if you think a bit more longer term, does that change any of the skills that you're thinking of doing in self-isolation?
I think it does. If you know you've got a certain amount of time to accomplish something, then definitely, because you can gauge generally how long a task or a skill set, whether a course is going to take to learn. If you've got that time there, then why not? I started playing some a song on the piano today, and I'm giving myself a couple of months to try and learn the song. I've got no musical notes in my body at all, so I'm just playing from memory. I can't just pick it up and look at something. But maybe if they come out and say there's a guaranteed time frame there, maybe I'll just start at the basics and away we go.
Can you mention what song it is, or is it a special song, Matty?
No, it's not a special song. It's a Snow Patrol song called "Open Your Eyes."
Ah, good tune.
Yeah, I was going to say the opposite, but the fact that you're learning it is good.
Yeah, we've had discussions on that song many years ago, Kane. Raised it a lot.
That's true.
Kane has finer music taste than you and I do.
He does, yeah.
He's far more sophisticated than we are.
Yeah.
Well,
he's more musically educated.
Only when it comes to music, to be honest. I was talking about this with my better half the other day, and we were just talking about, she's like, missing this, and like, there's no football on, blah, blah, blah. Because she goes to football much more than I do, the AFL. And I'm like, in all honesty, I don't go to the gym. I go for a run. Like, I can still do that. Like, I don't go to the football. I don't have any sort of hobbies outside of the house. I'm really boring. I mean, like, quarantine is just like my normal life.
Hey, you're built for quarantine. I'm going insane without the gym and no sport. I like when the AFL season got cancelled. My partner was like, "How are you?" And I'm like, "I genuinely could cry right now." Like, I was shattered.
Ryan's on the couch rocking back and forth.
Yeah, God.
Like, I was committing to getting up at like 5 a.m. to watch games and shit over here, and now nothing.
I think a lot of people
big
been like,
questions. What is life?
Yeah. A lot of people that like that over here though. Like, obviously the first round was played without any crowd in the games, and then there's nothing. A lot of people would even watch stuff on TV on a Saturday night or a Friday night, even if their team wasn't playing. So I think there is a definite gap in people's lives now, and you can't really fill it with better homes and gardens.
Oh God, no.
Unless you like that sort of thing, I guess. But I think that 3 or 6 month thing, I'm looking at it, it's going to be 6 months. Like, there's no way that they'll be lifting restrictions within 6 months unless they find magically find something which will immunise people against COVID-19 in the next 6 months. This is the next 6 months. And that means kids at home for 6 months. That means, going for one run a day by yourself, or, those sort of things, and just leaving the house to get essentials. It's unprecedented. Like, probably you had more things you could do when there was war on. Like, this is unheard of. So understanding there's that window, and then maybe trying to put some structure around learning something, I think is a really good idea. I just have to put my mind to what I'm going to learn. We're discussing before, Maddie, before we actually started recording, about you doing a beep test yesterday. I might have to bust out a beep test in the backyard and see if I can, just work on that sort of thing.
Yeah, the old beep test. I never thought about a beep test for many years, but I just threw it out. I messaged out to the neighbours and said, "Oh, look, I'm going to do a beep test with me this afternoon. We're going to park this across our driveway." And then so they came out, and we, there's probably 10 of us. We all spread out the 1.5 meters.
There's no more than 10 of you.
Need to be
no more than 10 outside.
No more than 10, and away we went. So that was a bit of fun. Can't do that anymore though. So we'll, I don't know, just do it individually, I guess, and just post our times.
Come back together at the end. And,
But I think it's those sort of things. Like, it's if you're just doing that like once, it's like that's an activity which everyone got a kick out of. Like, then you got to think of the next activity, especially with kids. Like, it's and Ryan, you're learning Excel. Like, we busted out our Excel of roster of the little fella today of who's going to do what, and we've broken it down into 2 hours because I said to said to my wife, let's be honest, I don't think either of us in the current environment have the she's got more patience than me, the patience and tolerance to have a 4-year-old who's stuck inside most of the day for more than 2 hours at a time. So it's like going to be pretty much a constant rotation every 2 hours of tag in, tag out, because otherwise it'd just be, I think people by the end of the week would just be going a bit stir crazy.
Absolutely.
I was going to say the next talent people can learn, or skill set they can learn, is probably patience and tolerance, given the fact that a lot of families are going to be with each other 24/7. They're not used to it, me included.
Now, you were talking before, Ryan, about the stats on divorces in China when they were in quarantine. It's not happy reading.
Yeah, I think it's going to be we're going to have a bunch of babies that are going to be born during this time, or a bunch of divorce filings once we all come out of quarantine.
Yeah, it's funny. Like, people who have never spent this much time with their spouse and like they're working, both working from home. And I saw a couple of things on, I think it was Twitter, and like a wife talking about her husband. I never knew I was married to the we'll loop back to that soon guy. Like, let's loop back to that. Let's loop back to that. Let's loop back to that. Like, just one of those cliched work things that people say. Oh, we'll loop back to that soon. She's like, I never knew I was married to that guy.
And most people hate those guys at work, let's be honest.
Yeah. She
it's like, come on, just make the decision. Let's move on.
Yeah. If she was working with that guy, she'd be like, I hate that guy. And she's married to him.
Yeah, I think the challenge is going to be like definitely trying to find a hobby or a skill or something during this time, for sure. And also just, we're obviously a little bit further into than you guys are, but some form of structure. Like I've got written, got to be up and dressed in proper clothes, not just pajamas, by 8 a.m. every day. Go for a run every second day. Just something that actually makes you remember what day it actually is. So like writing down in a journal a little thing of the date, what I've actually done today, because otherwise I can tell you, they all start to blend into one really quickly.
Yeah, I guess that's the hard bit is there's no structure of like a work day, getting up, going to the city, or going, transporting to a job and transporting home, and then having night. It is literally, if you are working from home, it is like that full work life blend that which we've discussed before. Everything just kind of blends into each other, and days just blend into each other. But part of that, again, like there's plenty of online courses out there that you can literally have 2 or 3 nights a week learning the piano, like Maddie may do, or he's learning a particular crappy Snow Patrol song, but he's learning a song. There's plenty of online tutorials online where you can learn different things. There's plenty of online yoga classes, plenty of online Pilates classes, plenty of online exercise classes, like all free. Like it's free stuff. You just got to, like you said there, Ryan, make the commitment of, I'm going to do this once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week, and actually go ahead and do it and make it part of your routine for as long as you need to.
Yeah, and a lot of it is just flipping the mindset a bit of, in one sense, it's terrible, this lockdown. It shakes the fundamental freedoms of, say, Western democracy. But in another sense, if you think about it, it's an opportunity to do things that you're probably never going to get. Like, hopefully, the unprecedentedness of being locked down for a few months doesn't happen regularly or again. So if you look at it that way, you go, well, this is probably never going to happen again in my lifetime. What could I use this time for? What positive could I make from an otherwise shit situation? And that, it could be, like you've thought of online education's far further along now than it was 10, 20 years ago. So if you've thought of, I'd love to go back to school and do this, or you're, like me and go, no, I'd finally like to properly learn Spanish, or Excel, because you've neglected it for years, you can actually have the time to do that. Similarly, you could completely smash and binge every Netflix show on the planet, but, each to their own. You kind of take what you want to use the time for.
Now, is it Tiger
Which is
Kings?
the big challenge.
Is it Tiger Kings, the new Netflix go-to show or must-watch show?
Mate, watched 2 episodes of it last night, though. That is addictive. That is good.
I have heard that.
Recommend that one.
Tiger Kings.
Yeah.
Hey,
Don't watch Love is Blind, though. That's very addictive and very sad that I through that whole series in a week.
Oh wow, that is impressive. So, well, there's 2 ways you can go, people. You can either, as Ryan said, you can either make some time to learn something, which is cool, or you can just binge interesting shows on Netflix, and that's cool too. Whatever helps you get through the next 6 months. But I think that's a pretty good place to wrap it up for this week. Remember to subscribe to Daddy Eats Last on iTunes if you haven't done already. And it's actually, funnily enough, podcast listenership has dropped 10 to 20% since COVID-19 has started, because people usually listen to podcasts while they travel and not while they're doing other things. So if you can subscribe to us on iTunes, that would be wonderful. Most of all, thanks for listening, and we'll be back next week for another episode, or should I say serving, of Daddy Eats Last. How's that for a dad joke? Catch you next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.